watching Sunday Sound Off with Frank Boal.
Welcome back to Sunday Sound Off, our first hot topic of the night. Where are the Royals really strong? What area of this baseball team are they really strong? TJ?
Well, I was going to say the bullpen, but maybe it's not the bullpen. It's a long season, but their bullpen is very, very good. Wade Davis is incredible. I'm going to go with defense, though. Their defense has been so good. They're one of the best defensive runs saved teams in Major League Baseball. Last year they were third. They're third in a lot of categories or better defensively. So I would say, given how many defensive assists they get in the outfield, and of course Salvador Perez behind the plate, defense is where it's at for the Royals.
Okay, Ryan Marshall.
I think their base running has got to be the strong suit for this team. I mean, listen, just watching this first game tonight in the opening night, it's just incredible how this team gets on the base pass. One guy bunted a ball and slid into first base safe. Lorenzo Cain, he's just the low cane train. He's just so fast around the bases. These guys have the ability to get extra runs where most teams can't do it. And, and that keeps the Royals in games. And inevitably with a starting lineup or starting rotation that may not be as strong as some of these other guys on these other teams, getting extra base runners, getting extra runs is going to be the difference. So I think that's where they're the strongest, is their base running.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think they scored 17 runs last postseason on outs, which is incredible. Soren.
I don't think you can argue with their defense. I don't think you can argue with the base running. I think the bullpen is still strong. I think Ryan's right. I don't think they're quite as deep as they were last year, but I'm going to say they're just keeping their head in the game. I mean, their concentration is better than everyone else in baseball. You already saw the boob fest that's going on with the Mets today when they got Cespedes taking the ball off his glove. Now, you'd think he comes back to the one place where he started the World Series and gave up a ball that he couldn't catch. He'd have his head in the game on opening day, but he doesn't, and nobody else in baseball does. The Royals have an unbelievable ability to keep their head in the game and not make those kind of foolish mistakes.
All right, here's our second hot topic of the evening. We find out where they're strongest. Where are they weakest? Ryan.
I have to go back and say, their starting rotation. I mean, Edison Volquez was outstanding. Had 2 hits tonight, only gave up 3 walks and had 5 strikeouts. But then you get back to Ian Kennedy and Yordano Ventura and some of those guys back there, Chris Medlin. You got to wonder, how are their arms going to hold up midway through the season? You get to another postseason run. I just don't see them really making another strong World Series push without making another Johnny Cueto type trade. So I really think their weakest link right now is that starting rotation, and they've got to make another trade or two potentially to get somebody to make that run, hopefully over the hump.
Okay, Soren?
I think the rotation, I think Ryan's right. I think it very well could be. I do think they've got some in-house answers, whether that's Mike Minor coming back from injury, Jason Vargas down the stretch coming and giving him some innings, or Kyle Zimmer. I mean, if they're going to find an ace in-house, it's probably going to have to be the youngster Kyle Zimmer. So I'll give them a pass there because I think they do have options. Danny Duffy maybe back out of the bullpen. I'm going to say it's right field. Everybody likes Paul Orlando and they like Gerard Dyson because they weren't the starters. They were the guys that would just come in, fill in, and when they got a hit, you didn't expect it, so they became great guys. Well, now you expect them to have frontline right field production, and I don't know that either one of those guys or even those guys together are going to be good enough to get that done. Fuentes starts the year with Dyson being hurt there, and he's a guy who has not been able to stick in the big leagues. He had a great spring, but I still think right field is their biggest question mark.
Yeah, and as far as starting pitching is concerned, you're worried about, Yordano Ventura. When are you going to be this, be the ace that everybody
Chris Young, what do you have? Like one? He's had 1 bounce back year. Chris Medlin's had 2 Tommy Johns. There's a lot of ifs in that starting rotation. I think Ryan's right about that.
All right, and our final hot topic is who's to blame for Justin Houston's ACL fiasco. Saran, I'm going to start with you on this because you did a big story with John Dorsey.
Yeah, I did. I talked to John Dorsey on my show, and he was very evasive. I mean, it did not go well. It did not look good for John Dorsey. I even mentioned that to some of the people around the Chiefs organization that, it was an interview that I taped, that it wasn't going to go well. I mean, at some point you have to stand up and take accountability. The Chiefs are getting the penalty for the tampering. They botched the Tom Bahali contract and are carrying $4 million dead money because they couldn't get it done 3 days earlier. It's just at some point this has to stop. If you get 5% worse at one moment, the fans won't know. But if you get 5% worse 4 times in one off season, you're 20% worse. They're going to know when you take the field. And the Chiefs have had a really, really bad off season. There's no way to sugarcoat this thing. It has been bad, and at some point they got to get their head straight. Justin Houston is just part of the problem, but even that, I don't think even they know what went wrong there, and that's scary if you're a Chiefs player.
TJ.
Yeah, I don't like to kiss Soren's butt too much. He gets enough of that. But yeah, that was a great interview. That was, and I think it was so amazing because I don't think that I could be an NFL GM, but listening to John Dorsey sometimes, I think, well, maybe I can do it. It was really rough, especially some of the gaps in knowledge. Maybe he was just unprepared for that line of questioning. I don't think he should have been. He should have had that information right at his fingertips. But it was a bad look for him, and I agree. I've been hammering this point home for a month. The Chiefs have been sloppy, not just in this offseason, but off seasons prior, and it's been a problem. And if you're sloppy in the NFL, you're going to lose games.
Yeah, right. You're sitting right on the edge of being able to take over the AFC West finally. Manning's gone. There's lots of question marks everywhere. And all of a sudden, you're sitting here doing this during the offseason. Drives you crazy. Ryan, what do you think?
Well, I've got to agree with both of these guys. You know, John Dorsey gets a lot of the credit when the team is successful. He's got to take the blame on this one. And when you're throwing as much money into these guys as you are with guys like Justin Houston and Holly, you got to know what the injury status of these guys are. And I think when the reporters asked him a little bit ago, you know, when did you know? And he said, well, team doctors just told us, you know, that's not good enough. And so absolutely Dorsey has to take the blame on this one for Justin Houston. There's just no way that you're paying these guys that much money to take a wait-and-see approach, especially with an offseason as critical as this one for the Chiefs. You absolutely have to blame John Dorsey for this one.
Okay, I got great news for you guys, okay? Royals are going to go 162-0. They just won 4-3. I'm going to tell you something. I was at the stadium doing a special from 5 to 6. I mean, there was no one that thought the Mets had any prayer to win anything tonight, I'll tell you. But they almost came back and won. They won the game 4-3. Of course, Wade Davis comes in and closes it down in the ninth inning. So pretty good deal going on there. Okay, up next, we're going to get some final thoughts from the panel. It's their time to sound off on anything that's on their minds. You're watching Sunday Sound Off.